So today I'm here with Dr. Anthony Mazeroll. He's with the Amazon Research Center for Ornamental Fish. I'm just going to do a little interview with him just to see what he's all about and go from there. Hi, Dr. Anthony Mazeroll. How's it going today?
Okay, Dave. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Okay.
First things first, I just want to get some background information about you. Just basically, what your background is and all that, and what your educational background and what you do.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. I was born and raised in the Imperial Valley here in California, out in the desert south of Palm Springs. Growing up in the desert, I guess there was an attraction to the ocean because quite the opposite of the desert. So I was always intrigued with the ocean. Since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a marine biologist, but I had no idea what that meant. When I was about 8 or 9 years old, my father, who was an elementary school teacher, was asked to take care of an aquarium for one of the other teachers for the summer. It was filled with guppies, and the sand moved. The sand moved because there must have been 1 million Malaysian trumpet snails in that sand. The sand the gravel had never been cleaned out, so it was black. But that really intrigued me, and since then, I've had aquariums ever since that time.
So you've been in the fish keeping hobby basically just to do that reason, been in there for quite a bit.
Over 50 years.
Awesome.
Yep.
What was your first tank that you had for yourself?
First tank I had for myself was Angelfish. Yeah, Angelfish Tank. And I actually bred the angelfish.
Oh.
Didn't know what to do with them. We didn't have a pet store around us, so I just, after a while, the babies would just disappear in the tank because all the other angelfish would eat them. So, but I just didn't know what I was doing per se.
You know how you do. How did you get knowledge on how to pick up the hobby back then?
It was magazines. Tropical Fish Hobbyist was one of the few magazines that we had. They've been around forever. And then in high school is when Fresh and Marine Aquarium magazine came out, which is now defunct. So everything was through magazines.
It's a lot different than nowadays where you have the internet, you have Google, you have YouTube. And
I would go to the library or public library and check out Axelrod's Atlas of Tropical Fish. Look at all these fish and, I wish I had this fish, not knowing anything about where they were from or anything, just they were colorful fish.
Oh, definitely did a lot of research on just those books.
Yeah.
Probably a lot different than nowadays. I think maybe that's the way maybe more people should probably do rather than just look online. But basically, I guess you got inspired from the hobby just from that one school tank. And
yep. Yeah. It changed my life. It really did. Look at now. Things are progressed a little bit, hopefully, in the hobby since then.
Yeah, a lot of new things out there, a lot of new features and all that. But, how long did it take for you to get your second tank?
Second tank was very shortly afterwards. I had for my 16th birthday, I actually got a 55-gallon tank. Before that, it was just a little 20-gallon tank. Then, because my parents said, nope, only one tank in the house, I actually had a homemade tank that a friend gave me that I had outside that would have gambusia, some minnows, and other things that I would catch locally in the irrigation canals. Sometimes it would be little baby channel cactus, sometimes be baby brown bullhead. So it's just whatever I could catch.
Now, back then, how was the fish stores back then? Few and far between, or?
Yeah, we would have to drive into San Diego to go to the fish stores. And we would primarily visit 2 fish stores. One used to be called Sports Arena Tropicals. It's now called Pet Kingdom. It's on Sports Arena Boulevard, but that's been there forever. And another place that just closed a couple years ago was Fountains Aquarium. When they had it in a house, they actually had the fish store in a house.
Yeah.
And then probably 10 years ago, they moved into a brand new building. But yeah, those were two that we would visit all the time.
I missed out on fountains. I think they were closed by the time I got into the hobby and all that. So now let's talk about the Amazon Research Center.
Okay.
Basically, what inspired you to co-found that?
Well, for about 10, 12 years now, I've been working in the Amazon on various research projects. I'd never been to a Quito, so what I did originally was write all the exporters and say, I want to do this research. Could you introduce me to the fishermen so I can actually go out and get these fish? And one of the exporters that emailed me back said, sure, we can help you. We have, very knowledgeable people here. Most of their management has degrees in aquaculture or biology. One of them was the general manager was Carlos Chicapiando, who is now actually our resident manager at the research center. I'd been working with him for a couple of years, and he came to me one summer while I was there and said, we have this opportunity to buy some land. What do you think about buying this land and maybe starting a research center? I thought, why not? You give us a base station, a place that, I could stay at. That was about 10 years ago. And it really sat idle because a lot of money, it takes money and we just didn't have the money to put into it. And during that time, we actually lost part of our land. There are, homestead laws there in Peru. If you put a house on land, that now becomes your land. And so we had a guy build a house overnight on our land, and we had to actually give him that part of the land. So that made us realize, are we going to do something here, or are we just going to walk away? And I walked away for a year, and I just did not feel right. I felt like I was abandoning something, abandoning a child, a pet or something. And so my wife and I talked about it and said, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this. We're going to put money into it regardless of the cost. Within reason, we're going to start building all the buildings. And that's what we did. About 4 years ago, we just decided, okay, let's go in it full force. And so, right now we have laboratories, a big fish lab. We have dormitories for people to stay with a common kitchen. And right now we're actually building a public aquarium for environmental education in the area.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw the video on your the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And got it kind of being built a little bit there. So.
But with COVID, everything's on the standstill. Those videos were taken, almost a year ago now. We just can't get there. We couldn't get building materials. We can get a lot of stuff. So it's now on standstill until the country completely opens up.
Yeah. Is there any other things that like this current situation is hindering your progress there? Other than building the aquarium, getting that set up? Or?
Well, for me to go back and do my research too. I mean, it prevents me from going to Peru.
Let's see. So it's been running about 10 years. Well, it's been a thing for 10 years.
Yes.
But you didn't really get up and running until the last 4 years.
4 or 5 years, yes.
4 years. Have you learned anything more since you started it really up like that?
About the research center?
Yeah. Have you learned anything about the area and anything about the fish keeping?
Oh yeah, the research center is twofold. One of the things we're trying to do is teach the local fishermen how to sustainably breed their fish. Because what happens is that they only fish during the dry season, for the most part, because that's when you can get into the rivers, the fish are concentrated, and like any business economic theory, they catch as much as they can because they try to get more money for themselves. But the more they catch, the price goes down. So this, supply and demand.
Yeah.
And so they catch even more to try to get, and so the price drops. And so during that 6-7 months where it's not dry season, a lot of them don't have an income.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is teach them to breed these fish in ponds, so it'll allow them to have a steady income all year long. And so that, to try to change the fishermen's attitudes and outlook on how they make money, it's not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah. While doing some research on the Amazon Research Center, I did notice that you do have ponds on the site,
Yep.
correct?
Yes.
Is that the main purpose for those ponds, just to help teach?
Yes, yeah. To use as demonstrations for the fishermen, teach them how to build the ponds, how to maintain the ponds. And we also have students from Peru who do their research in the ponds and at the research center as well as my students here in America that have actually gone there and done their research there.
Now, I know with Project Piaba, they deal with this similar aspect
Yes.
of what you're talking about. Although one of their reasons for that is to prevent people from picking up other commercial things like gold, where it just kind of damages the ecosystem. Do you see any of that in Peru as well?
Yeah, there is. In southern Peru, there's massive amounts of illegal gold mining going on. And we also see it in the Iquitos region where the research center is. There are gold dredgers that are there. They're dredging the sediments up from the bottom of the rivers and trying to mine for gold. But one of the bad things about mining for gold is how they extract the gold is with mercury, with methyl mercury. That gets into the food web. We get it, and causes major problems for the people.
Yeah. Is there a particular reason why you chose Peru for this location, or is it just a matter of just who you were talking to at the time?
I started working in Colombia. I was doing population genetics on fish, in particular discus. Discus are not very common in that area of Colombia, so I decided to go to Peru, where I knew in the Rio Nanay there are discus. They're not native to the area, but they have been introduced. They were introduced in the 70s in 2 different accidental introductions. And so that's what got me originally to go to Peru, was to work on the population genetics there.
Now, with those accidental, was there a particular cause to that you were aware of, or was it some hobbyists?
No, there are 2 causes. One was a fish farmer had a bunch of discus on his fish farm, and the river flooded, dumped all the discus into the river. And the other one was a airplane that ran out of gas in the river and had to dump supposedly 10,000 beautiful wild-caught discus from Lake Tefe area of Brazil, and that's how the red-spotted greens were introduced into the area.
At the center, do you breed any of the fish there, and which ones?
Well, yeah, right now we're breeding some Epistogrammus as a demonstration for the farmers and to show people what can be bred in captivity there. The Epistogrammus breed very,
yes, they do.
They breed very easily in the ponds. We also have in the fish lab, we have a bunch of aquariums that we have there that we're breeding in there.
I know with Epistogrammus, they pretty much breed pretty easily in most aquariums as well.
Yeah.
What types of Epistogrammus, if you don't mind me asking?
The one that we're breeding right now is a Epistogramma alto tapachi. It's an undescribed pisto from the Ucayali River. The males get bright blue and purple colored dots on their body. It's a very pretty fish. I mean, it's a spectacular fish.
Definitely have to look at some pictures on that. So.
Yeah. And the males get up to 3 inches long, so it's a relatively large Epistogramma species.
Epistogramma is probably one of my favorite fishes to begin with, so definitely have that. Right now, I do have some. What is it? The Epistogramma Hungsley. So a few of those in one of my fish tanks. What is your favorite fish that you work with at the center?
My favorite fish of all time is
discus.
Discus. Yes. Discus, that's, since I was teenager, discus have been my favorite fish. And so it's the emblem, it's the mascot for the research center.
Yeah. I know a lot of people kind of stay away from discus because they think it's hard to deal with in the home hobby just due to the water requirements, but I believe that's changing, isn't it?
Well, yeah, a wild caught discus, yeah. Any wild caught fish, if you want to breed them, you're going to have the exact water conditions. In this tank behind me, there are wild caught Ultim angels from Colombia, Venezuela. They're hiding behind the wood.
Yeah, I see them right there.
These are in plain Fountain Valley water, hard water, pH of 8. I don't plan to breed these.
Yeah.
So they've been in the tank almost a year now. They're doing perfectly fine. I don't ever expect them to breed, so I'm not trying to mimic the water conditions. But with discus, people want to get discus to breed them. They're a very demanding fish. Domestically bred discus tend to be less demanding. I think where people go wrong with discus is discus eat massive amounts of food. And so to keep up with water changes and all the water problems that you get from having to feed them a lot.
That's the one thing I haven't heard about them is that they eat a lot.
Yes.
So maybe that's also another reason why people have trouble with them. Maybe they don't realize how much food they have to give them. How's running the Amazon Research Center changed you as a fish keeper?
I used to not think about where the fish came from. I just assumed these fish were all bred in Asia. It wasn't until I started working with the exporters and see how many fish are exported just out of that one small area to all over the world that I really, that I got a true understanding of what our hobby potentially can do, good and bad.
What has been your largest challenge with running the Amazon Research Center?
Largest challenge is being 5,000-6,000 miles away. Minor problems can turn into big problems if they're not, if you don't take care of the problem right away.
Yeah.
And sometimes they wait for me to give them an answer on, what color paint should we use? Well, what color paint do you think is good? So these issues that you don't think about much, they arise every day.
So you still do have a team working down there?
Yes, Carlos, our resident manager, lives right across the street from the research center. We have, besides him, we have one full-time worker there right now who takes care of the grounds. He's our handyman. We're still doing some construction, so Carlos will do the construction, and so it's still ongoing.
Now, before this current world situation that's going on, how often do you used to go down there?
I used to go at least twice a year. I would go during our summers, which is their winter. Yeah. It's their dry season, but it's considered their winter. I would leave right after my university has its graduation, and then stay until Labor Day.
Okay, and just for the record, when you say university, I don't think we covered this, but you do teach classes at, I believe, SoCo University? Yeah,
I'm a professor of biology and environmental studies at SoCo University of America, which is in Aliso Viejo, California. Small liberal arts university.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that was brought up, so I don't think we mentioned that earlier. So just so people know, because I know you do other things. I know you've done some talks at fish clubs, and I believe I've seen you on some records for some conventions as well. So.
Yes, last year we were at the Aquatic Experience in New Jersey. I spoke at all the clubs here in California, the Greater Seattle Aquarium clubs, 5 or 6 clubs on the East Coast, and then the Bermuda Fry Angle Club. It's in Bermuda. It's their local fish club.
I think the one I remember seeing you at the Coast Club was the Death of the Amazon, which was a
Yes.
very good
Yep.
presentation.
Yep.
So, what are your upcoming goals at the Amazon Research Center other than the aquarium?
Well, that's our main goal is to finish the aquarium, which will be just all the local fishes. The people really, there are about 350 fish that are exported out of Iquitos for the aquarium trade. Most people don't know those fish because all they're concerned with are the food fish.
Yeah.
So a lot of them know, maybe 10 different species of fish, but those are food fish,
Yes.
not aquarium fish. So this is a way to introduce them to their local environments. We're going to have programs for school kids to introduce them to some of the problems that that are happening in the rivers around them. The impacts that we're having, the negative impacts that we're having on the environment.
Now, what are some ways that some can get involved in the Amazon Research Center?
There's a couple ways. One way is we always appreciate donations, and you can go to our website amazonresearchcenter.org, and you can see how you can donate. Another way is through donations that you don't actually provide. Amazon.com, not Amazon Research Center, Amazon.com has a program called Smile, and they provide a small percentage of their profits from whatever you buy. And when I give talks, I always say it's a program that if you think the American Heart Association is that nonprofit that you want to give to, I say do it. So it helps any certified nonprofit get money that would not be available to them. Of course, I want you to do Amazon Research Center, but
which is what I do.
And so, but if American Cancer Society or some other nonprofit you really feel strongly about, I would say go for it.
I know when I first started doing smile.amazon.com, I actually had CHOC, which is the Children's Hospital in Orange County, which I've had to bring my sons there a couple of times, and I think that part of Amazon is really doing great, just offering that offer.
It doesn't, it's, I guess you can think about it, potentially it does, they'll raise their prices 0.0%, but in the grand scheme of things.
But it's not going to raise any more than what it already is.
Yeah. So and it's a, it's a good program that I think everybody should take part of. And a lot of people still don't know about Amazon Smile or Smile Amazon.
And well, I think they consider Smile Amazon. But to get to it, you put smile.amazon.com.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Now, as far as other ways, I mean, do you accept like internships and all that?
Yes, we were going to have interns this past summer, but because of COVID, we could not. But yes, we probably in February, March, if you go to the website, there will be applications for internships, anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months. With that, you stay in the dorms. You work on the research center, either with some of the research that we're doing or working in the aquarium itself. And so it's a way for you to get involved, without actually giving money. We give you money per se, is that we provide you a place to stay, we provide some of the food, and in turn you then help us out.
But as far as getting there, they're responsible for getting there.
They're responsible for getting there. Plane tickets average anywhere from $800 to $1,500, depends upon what time of year.
And I'm guessing with you teaching class, have many of your students participated?
Yes, I had 2 students 2 summers ago, did internships at the research center. And one thing I forgot to mention, in January we have a 3-week mini session at our university where students take one class. and it's every day. And in the past, I've actually taken students to Peru, took them to Colombia as well when I was working in Colombia. So, you know, it gives them experiences outside of the normal classroom for those students.
Anyways, closing out, there's a couple more questions that are not really related to the Amazon Research Center, but what kind of food do you normally feed your fish in terms of that?
Depends on the fish. Normally, I'm a well-balanced flake food person for most of my fish. Discus, I will feed frozen bloodworms. Also freeze-dried tubifex worms. And with babies, I will feed flake. You know, if you feed flakes to adults, that's a lot of flakes because, you know, they're going to be picking off the bottom all the time. So I'd rather feed them frozen bloodworms. So, you know, it's a lot better. Also do live earthworms. I have a redworm compost pile in the side of the house, and so it produces massive amounts of redworms that I feed to, you know, the angelfish gets them. There's some banjo catfish that are in there. They will eat them at night when they come out. So, you know, I try to feed a well-balanced diet, but for most fish it's going to be flake. I used to feed my discus a beef heart recipe, but my discus really didn't like it very much, and so I don't have any more because I have some pink convicts, regular convicts, and red jewel cichlids that are breeding, and so the baby just would devour that beef heart. So finally I got rid of all that beef heart. Yeah. Now I have to make more beef heart because they liked it so much.
And finally, what tip would you give to people either entering the hobby, the fish keeping hobby, or already in the fish keeping hobby? Is there any tip that you want to offer, whether it be how they keep their fish or anything related to how the fish arrive?
I would say one tip is take it slow. You know, so many people set up an aquarium and they want to put in 20 fish. Then within 3 weeks, everything dies because the ammonia builds up so high. So if you take it slow, you won't get that initial crash that sends people out of the hobby because my fish die. Why'd they die? You know, they lose their motivation for aquarium hobby. So if you take it slow, add fish little by little, it'll be a lifelong hobby for most people.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Anthony Mazeroll. Thanks for having me the chance to interview you.
I appreciate it.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
What happened?
It stopped at some point.